Hey guys, MA Fish Guy here, coming at you with a question that someone had in one of the comments about driftwood. Now, they had a specific question that honestly I kind of see a lot, especially for new people joining this hobby. And if you're just getting into starting up with a tank with driftwood or any type of like wood in your aquarium, there are some things that can happen and how to fix it. So I'm going to break that down for you. So the first question is what do I do if the driftwood is like staining or turning my water brown or red? Well, those are tannins that are being released into your aquarium water from the driftwood. Now this can happen in pretty much any of your driftwoods out there, especially if there's like a red coloration. I see it a lot with like my Mopani. So you have like the dark browns. And I love this style of wood because there's different colors and blends and lots of different things that you can do with it. So with this, it's going to release tannins into the water. That's going to be normal. So there are a couple of ways that you can help get rid of that. So first, you can soak it in a bucket of water and just let it sit for, and then dump the water like twice a day. And this, sometimes I've had pieces that are good after 3-4 days, and some that take 2 weeks. Next, if you have a piece that you can boil it. That for some reason makes things go a lot quicker. So if you can fit one in, then boil it. But I have a piece I can't. This piece right here, I don't have a pot big enough. So what I'm gonna end up doing today, because I've tried soaking it and soaking it and soaking it, and it's still, my water turns like brown in a 60-gallon aquarium within like 2 days. So I'm gonna be taking this, I'm gonna be dumping boiling water onto it and letting it sit and soak in that in the sink down here. So once that's all set, and sometimes even after doing that, you're still gonna have tannins released, and while you're doing water changes and things like that, that will slowly go away. It's gonna dilute itself over time, and once you have the tank flowing and all that kind of stuff, some of that's just taken out naturally with the filters and all that kind of stuff, depending on what you have. So next, this is one I saw today and I thought it was interesting because you don't really see a lot. I've had it happen to me a couple of times. Is your driftwood gets like furry. It gets like a film and like almost like a fungus wrapped around it. Now, what do you do in that? So there's a couple of different ways you can kind of remedy this. So you can take it out, rinse it, scrub all the crap off of it, and put it back in the aquarium. Next, you can just let it sit. I know it sounds weird, but as long as your tank is set up and going and filtered and all that kind of stuff, usually that stuff will go away on its own. It's just like nature. So you're creating an ecosystem in your aquarium, and that will go away on its own. Might take a little while, but it will eventually. If it gets worse, then I definitely take it out, inspect the wood, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, make sure there's nothing in it. I've seen stories before where people actually have termites in their wood, and that causes a whole nother issue with the tank. So you inspect the wood before you put it in. Next, so if you get your driftwood, it should have an earthly smell to it. It should smell like dirt. It shouldn't smell like death. Now, if it smells like death, it's a lot of times you're letting your water sit too long. So if you're letting this sit for more than 24 to 36 hours, there's a breakdown that happens with the natural wood and all that kind of stuff that releases some different organic materials that actually smell. And when it sits in stagnant water, it'll get like a film on top, like something died in there. It'll smell like something died in there. That's not good. So the problem with that is you're letting the water sit too long to get all the tannins out. So you want to be changing that like at least twice a day, like I said in the beginning of the video. More changing equals more tannins being leached out. The other thing too is if you don't have a pot big enough for it, hot water. The hottest faucet water that you can get to fill that bucket, it's going to release all that tannins a lot quicker. It's like tea. If you put the tea in cold water, it takes quite a while for those tannins and stuff to leach from the tea, whereas if you put the hot water, it's super quick. Same thing with driftwood. So the other thing with driftwood that someone said is there's like a red and brown slime that develops on it. Again, it's natural things breaking down. What I recommend doing if you have that is honestly take the piece of wood out and rinse it wipe it down with like a toothbrush or something like that, get all that slime off, put it back in, start fresh again. No harm, no foul. Another thing, the driftwood won't sink. Now some of this you get, essentially like, I have a couple branchy pieces like this that almost feel hollow. They feel like a piece of cork. They will sink eventually. It takes about 24 to 48 hours. But if you have a big piece like Wapani or something like that, like the spider wood, all that kind of stuff, if you have a problem sinking it, you can either zip tie or tie a rock to it, or you can kind of tuck it underneath an ornament. Once it stays waterlogged for quite a while, it'll fill up with water, get rid of some of that air, and it will release, and it'll sink down to the bottom. So, because you don't want a piece of wood floating around or anything like that. Now, if you want to attach plants to it too, same thing. Zip ties. They even sell brown zip ties out there. You can take a piece of fishing line and wrap it around until the plant kind of anchors onto the driftwood. Also, other things I've done before is I actually drill a hole into the driftwood. How about that big? However big that you need to plug the plant in. Put it in there, put some super glue around the top, and it actually anchors it in place and stays. So there's a couple different tricks that you can use. So I hope this helps you guys. Those are probably some of the main things I see when it comes to driftwood. Like I said, floating, stinks, has a red slime on it, it gets fuzzy, and probably the biggest one, turns my water brown. So these are ways to fix it. But like I said, the biggest takeaway, if you can boil it, boil it. If you can't, the hottest faucet water you can do, and change the water every probably two times a day. The other thing I've seen people do, if you have a lot of driftwood that you got, fill the bathtub. Fill it with hot water, let it soak, let it drain, let it soak, let it drain. So, I hope this helps. If you guys have any questions, put it down below in the comments. I want to answer anything and everything I can when it comes to fish questions that you guys have, whether you're beginner or advanced. And if I don't know the information, I'm going to be looking it up and research to educate myself and help educate you guys. So thank you guys again for watching. Check out the rest of my videos. Hit that subscribe button. Until next time.